Hi everyone! I have another video that I wanted to share, and this time I have a recipe for a laundry detergent. But first, I just wanted to try something a little bit different. So I'm going to try to do a voiceover to give context to my video as opposed to trying to write everything in the video. And hopefully this is just easier to follow. So as I said, I have a recipe I wanted to share, and I will get to that. But on this day, I was just stepping outside to check on my fermented chicken feed. Normally, this is a job that my oldest daughter does, is to feed the chickens and water the chickens and ducks. But I do like to go out occasionally and make sure that my feed buckets are full, that they don't have mold in them, that they're fermenting really well. And we had some pretty warm weather for the past couple of weeks, so the feed was looking really great. And to me, it kind of smells like sourdough bread or like a yeasty bread. It shouldn't smell bad. It can smell quite strong, but it shouldn't be a bad smell. And then I was just showing there how I will rinse around the edge of my bucket and then cover my grain with water. I have found that if you can get a good colony of bacteria going with a good starter, so for my starter I used apple cider vinegar, and now I have a good colony of bacteria, and then I just put in fresh grain, which gives the bacteria something to feed on, and then I just make sure that my grain is covered with water, and I find that I don't get mold when I keep up with those I guess things that I just mentioned. And actually, when I went out, my daughter had fed the chickens and they had grain, they had dry grain, but when I brought the fermented feed, they just flocked to it. So I know they were really missing it all winter, and I'd like to figure out a way where I can ferment throughout the winter too, because I do think the chickens prefer it, and they just seem so much healthier when they're on that fermented grain. And then I went back over to my little setup here. This is temporary. We did do a self build, and we are still continuing to build and figure out how to basically just make things more efficient. And I had showed that tank of water and the hose going from the tank to the greenhouse, and I will get to that in just a moment. But every time I step into the shop to get to the greenhouse, I just look around, because last year Jeff and his dad built this shop, and this year they are finishing the inside of it, building shelves, setting up their tools. Jeff has the lights all working in there, and it just looks really great every time I walk through there. So in the greenhouse, I had shown the hose just temporarily going across the driveway, and it just comes in the corner of the greenhouse there. And this is how I'm currently watering. In my last video, I was just watering by the bucket, and that was super tedious. But it's warm enough now that we can run our reverse osmosis outside. And the reason we have to run up reverse osmosis is that our well is high in sodium, and the only way to filter that is through reverse osmosis. So we have that filter for inside the house for us to drink, and we have it outside to water the gardens in the greenhouse. So the filtering system is in the basement, and then it is in a holding tank outside, and currently that's what I'm using. I also let my little guy water the rocks there, because I find that when I keep those rocks wet, it's just another way for me to raise the humidity. And I'm still kind of eyeballing it and trying to find that sweet spot of humidity and temperature to keep things growing but not grow mold. We don't have the fans, we don't have like a heating or cooling system yet, but we are working on that. So until that time, I just have to eyeball it, and I have a monitor inside my kitchen that I can keep checking the temperature and the humidity of the greenhouse. So I just wanted to share that little bit of progress there. And now for this recipe that I wanted to share, and this is a powdered laundry detergent using a bar of soap that I sell in my shop. And this is a really degreasing, all-purpose cleaning bar. It works so great for washing dishes. You can lather it up and scrub bathtubs, showers, kitchen sink. That's what I use it for. I find the soap washes away really well and doesn't leave soap scum. However, as I mentioned, we do have high sodium, and with high sodium water, you don't need as much soap. Otherwise, things get really, have like a strange slick feeling to it. So I guess in that it's beneficial in that we don't need to use as much soap to clean our whatever it is that we're trying to clean, dishes, sinks, clothing. So this is another way to use this bar, and I will have the measurements to the recipe in my description box, as well as how we have found it to be useful. And I just grate the bar and I add it to some washing soda, baking soda, and salt. You can add some essential oils. I do put quite a lot of essential oils in my clean house bar. I call it the clean house bar. And I used oils that I read are antibacterial, antifungal, and even anti-parasitic. So I have clove, tea tree, lemon, and orange in that bar. And I feel like that's enough. I don't need to add anything to this detergent, but you certainly can. And then I just mix it really, really well to ensure that when I'm scooping some of that detergent out, I'm getting everything that's in there into my washing machine. And then I just take the entire thing and pour it into a jar, and I just stick a tablespoon, because we do it by the tablespoon. We have found 2 tablespoons to work well for a medium to large load of towels and sheets, and we're still working on a measurement for clothing, but I will write all of this in the description box. But that's pretty much it. You can use borax. I used to use borax, but I have since read that it is considered an insecticide, and because our gray water just washes out onto our acreage, I really try my best to keep what we're putting out there non-toxic and friendly to the ecosystem that we have around us. And then at the end here, I just showed how sudsy this bar gets and how great it is for washing dishes. It rinses really well. It washes really well. And as I said, I do have this in my shop, and I have the link to my shop in the description of this video. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you found something in this video that was useful or informative, and I just really appreciate you taking the time to watch.